Hello and welcome to this edition of Finance and Technology Insights with Brian and Eric. I'm Brian Williams from Northshire Consulting. He is Eric Buhrendorf from EVERNET. What's happening, Eric?
Hey, how are you? Episode 25 today.
25. How about that? Yeah, we said last week you could binge watch them and cover a full day. So now we're a couple of them might be a little bit short. So now you may actually have a full 24 hours if you
That's
wanted
awesome.
to, if you were trapped inside with quarantine or something. So how's your family feeling?
Yeah, we had a non-COVID thing run through the house
Okay.
last week. Honestly, not sure if it wasn't COVID, but we tested kind of like when it was peak illness, and everybody tested negative. Although my sister reports that they just had a house gathering down in Florida at her place, and all of the kids and everybody's sick with COVID, tested positive. So the news reports are saying that it's going around, and I don't know, all the symptoms around here were COVID-like, headache, running nose, that sort of thing, but negative tests. So go figure.
All right. Well, as long as you guys are back on track, I'm sure none of your sister's cases are that severe or anything. Everything's good.
No, everybody seems to be just limited to, headaches and cold-like symptoms, it seems.
All right. Anything exciting happened in the household over the weekend?
Let's see. You're all right. You're teeing it up for me. What are we doing? So, oh God, what did we do last weekend? It was pretty quiet. We, I put up a zip line in the backyard for the kids. And that's something that I always wanted when I was a kid. And we actually had a tree fort when I was a kid, and we did make a zip line that was pretty robust. But now you could just go to Amazon and buy kits, or like just set, with everything you need, toolless, So I have 120-foot zip line going from one side of the yard to the opposite side of the yard. Took a little bit of tweaking and adjusting, but we figured it out, and it's pretty good. How about you?
Right. I imagine it's hard to get you got to factor in the sag factor a little bit, right? But you don't want to start it too high and make it out of reach. So
yeah, so typically zip lines created you know what a turnbuckle is?
Yeah.
So normally you use turnbuckles to kind of take that slack out, but this system has a come along ratchet strap, like a nylon ratchet strap. So it's, like I said, it's toolless, and it's kind of easy up, easy down. And I'm just a little surprised at the gauge wire that they use. It just seems like maybe they could have gone up maybe 25% on the size of the wire, because as I'm kind of ratcheting it down, it just, you're being that close to the ratchet and watching everything kind of tension is disconcerting, but I guess it's rated.
Yeah. What's the weight limit? Does it take adults?
It says 250.
Okay.
It says 250, but I would not dare I won't even go on it at 200. I'm 190 pounds, 195 pounds, and I wouldn't dare go on it. My wife went on it, and she's twice as big as the children, and watching the kids go on it and the sag, and then watch my wife go on it, and then the sag comparatively. Now I'm twice as big as my wife, so I don't know. I'd be, I don't think I could take out the slack even to accommodate for me. So, but the kids are liking it. It's fun. So yeah, we're kind of big into the yard games. We don't have a pool, and we're not going to go in that direction after all, I guess. So we I was even contemplating maybe digging a hole in the ground and putting a trampoline for the kids, but those things are death traps. So
yeah, they really are.
Just yard games and stuff like that this weekend for us. What about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same here. We did another slumber party, which my son is really obsessed with now. So it's basically we just make some popcorn and watch a movie in the basement, and then he's got a little air mattress that he sleeps on, and my wife and I sleep on a couch down there. So
That's
He's
cool.
like obsessed with that. So we
Will
said we
you?
were going to do one for a while, and then of course we do it in back-to-back weekends. But it actually worked out because they did a fireworks was delayed a week at the local park here, so we picked that day because it would have woke him up anyway. So they started those a little bit after 9. So if he was in his normal bedroom, it would have been a mess anyway. So it
Are you
actually
guys
worked out.
campers, or will you take that to the backyard eventually?
Not yet. He hasn't quite asked for that yet. We don't have a tent, but I would imagine it's something maybe we'll get into. We've had actually a couple bear sightings here in the neighborhood, so I'm not going to push it in that direction since we've had some roaming around. So it's not a high priority for him. But yeah, always got to be careful with that stuff to like ratchet it up too quickly, and like it's like let's just appreciate this without taking it to that next level. There's
Drip the
always that,
faucet,
hey,
so to speak.
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, let's do this. It's like, no, well, he likes this. Let's, keep doing this until he doesn't like it anymore. So yeah, that was pretty good. And then, yeah, and then just the normal around town stuff. We're going to visit my mother shortly. So we'll be away for another week and a half. So that'll be, so this weekend, the stuff that's in between, we try not to run around too much. So that
Very
was our
good.
week that was.
Very good. Well, that brings us to our next segment. Did I hit that cue? Did I hit that cue on time?
No, that was perfect. We definitely got to go picture in picture on those so you can see us rocking out. So, yeah, business wise, it's still a lot of pulling through all the end of the quarter, half year. Got all those and in a couple hours, I got one of these Schwab mid-year outlooks, looking back, looking ahead. It's so funny how they try to name these things. I mean, most of them are kind of useless, to be quite honest with you. It's not going to change what you do, but it's some talking points, and you pick up things here and there. There's a really good Twitter Spaces yesterday, which I have not been on a ton of those.
I haven't either.
But it was one that so somebody that I follow, put it out as kind of an alert. I don't know if he like invited me or whatever, but I got the notification on it, and so I don't know what exactly the process was. But anyway, I got another notification like an hour before it started, but basically like a kind of a live podcast thing. I had that, not something that gets 100% of your attention, but it was on ESG, which is the environmental, socially conscious governance of companies, which it's turned into really kind of a mess. It's just been this back and forth stuff politically. So you've got one side who says, absolutely not, this stuff should be banned, especially from retirement plans. You shouldn't have the woke culture driving people's retirement. And then you've got the other side who says this is critical, we need to get this all in retirement plans. I mean, and you've had state pensions and things like that sort of divest from certain areas. And
Well, I mean, just from where I'm observing the ESG issue, they rank Tesla low, I think, and they rank some of the oil companies high. So
right, and it's all sorts of different criteria. And you've had some traditional funds that have been around for 30 years say, well, maybe we can gather more assets if we just tweak this and this and change our name to an ESG fund. And I'll tell you a quick story, and this is from a while back, but I had actually 2 ESG managers come into the office, and one of the questions I'll ask any mutual fund that's actively managed is, what's a stock you've recently added to the portfolio, and what's a stock you've recently taken out? So in the morning, an ESG manager comes in. So I asked the question, what's a stock you've recently added? And they picked a fairly large athletic shoe company and apparel company. And they said, we added this because we really like how they've promoted some minorities in the company. They've promoted some women. We really like their governance and what they've done. So we added that to the portfolio because it's a really strong, forward-looking company. I get another ESG manager that comes in the afternoon. I ask them the same questions, and they said, well, we recently took out a really large apparel company, athletic shoe company, because of the way those shoes are manufactured overseas, and they really take advantage of that local culture for cheap labor, and the employees aren't taken care of, and it's really a company that's not forward thinking and all that sort of stuff.
was it the same company?
Same company. Yep. So how you measure that kind of stuff is, you can poke holes in any business about,
Well,
so,
well, I mean,
um,
should social governance be a factor in investing? I mean, it's there. I'm not making a position either way, but just rhetorically, does social governance impact fiscal performance? And
right.
it's
And that's
objectively, it doesn't seem like it does. Like if you're hiring child labor to dig blood diamonds out of mines of Africa,
mhm,
and you're in the business of selling diamonds, it seems to me that that's a profitable business choice. But
mhm.
but but then not investing in that. I mean, there's like, what is it? Political investing, or not political investing. What's the term I'm looking for? It's
Purpose-driven investing.
yeah, it's like, you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
or I guess political correcting, political
Yeah.
correctness investing, or you know what I mean. It's like that to me seems. I'm really trying to reserve like a judgment here, but
I know.
it just seems like uh antithetical to investing, to make decisions that are not associated to fiscal choices or business,
Right.
fiscal business intelligence. You know what I mean?
Right, and you have a fiduciary responsibility when you're running other people's money. I mean, if you're a large state teacher's pension plan and you say, we're going to divest from oil companies and we're not going to invest in them at all, if you're making an investment case for that, then that's okay. But if you're
That's the
sacrificing performance of all your teachers because you're missing out on the performance of those companies,
activism investing is the word I was looking
yeah,
for.
yeah. And so it's been a hot topic, which unfortunately it becomes very polarized. So my stance has always been there's been some circumstances where it can inspire, for example, a young person to invest who may not have invested before. So you take a scenario of somebody who's in their mid 20s, maybe all they know about investing is their parents ran into some trouble in 08, 09, and the stock market's a scam and I want nothing to do with it. Those people are out there. And if you scroll through the list of 25, 30 funds, and there's a socially conscious index in there or something, and they said, oh, you know what, maybe, I'll just allocate to that. So then it's my responsibility to make sure that fund is good, and to talk about that and say, hey, if the scenario is either they don't participate or they participate now because the CSG fund is in there, then that's a good outcome. And as their portfolio grows and whatever, maybe they can diversify away from that or whatever. So that's been my stance, is that it's okay to have them in there as long as they're not the default, because they could inspire participation.
Right. But
That's
even that's an investment case.
sure. Yeah, you wouldn't put a bad fund in there just for the sake of having one. So I still have to make an investment case that it makes sense to
Right.
be in there. So anyway, so that was a good Twitter Spaces that I was on yesterday, and there's some back and forth. A guy from Bloomberg that we did an interview with on our YouTube channel and Facebook group. A couple of people from ETF Trends, and some other spots. So that's pretty interesting because they had a pretty good debate back and forth. I don't know what the actual mechanism behind that is. I know if you're the host, you have the ability to kind of mute and unmute people. And if you're in as just an audience member, you have no ability to participate unless they
Were you
kind of
invited
turn
to
that on. Or
participate, or were you just invited to the?
no, I was just there as a listener. But I think they do have the ability to kind of do a Q&A. So for example, I think I could have raised my hand
Right.
and they could have unmuted me. So I think that functionality is there. But
So they probably sent an invite to all the followers, right? Were you a
yeah,
follower?
yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
I've gotten that before too. Like, I didn't know what it was when I first got it. Twitter
mhm,
was just kind of blowing up on my phone, and I was like, I opened Twitter, and it was like, bam, I'm in some sort of discussion lobby or something, and I
yeah,
didn't really know what it was at first. I think that might be a carryover from them buying Periscope. Do you remember that app
yeah,
called Periscope?
yep,
I think that's their use of that.
yeah.
So
Um,
activism investing, that's the word that I was looking for. Investment activism. I don't know.
mhm. Yep. So that's kind of become a hot button issue in the retirement plan space. But anyway, so you asked me what was going on. That was a good example of something that's going on. So
Nice. What's going? Any new content coming down the pike? I know
yeah.
yesterday you sounded like, at least virtually, through your words, maybe you were pulling your hair out just because, were you too
Yeah,
much
that's
to
all.
do or too little time or what?
Yeah, I mean, my head's always spinning with lots of new ideas. Always looking at the shiny object. So sometimes it's tough for me to, get a project get 80% done, and then there's a new shiny object. So, especially in the summer when your client meetings are down a little bit. So, but no, we said last week, if we had some new things coming, and I didn't want to mention it because it's kind of the idea. Let's do it first, and then talk about it rather than just talk about what we're going to do. But I did launch a more regular podcast. The idea is kind of
All right.
keep that between 4 and 5 minutes. I thought maybe of trying to make it exactly 4 minutes and 1 second, so it showed up as 401 on everybody's feed, but
Oh,
that's a little
nice.
bit too tough to make it. But the idea is there is just to kind of, the idea of consuming all the content that I have and then digesting that and putting that out in really short form, easy to understand stuff. It's not necessarily, some of it will be a little bit more timely. There might be kind of a market update or something that's happening that I want to comment on. So, or there might be some more evergreen content that's maybe we take a week to talk about inflation, or maybe we do a vocabulary week where we just kind of go through some mutual fund terms and what they mean. So that stuff will kind of linger and be long term. So after I got through my first few introductory episodes about what the podcast is about, what I'm about, we went into a few sessions about inflation. So what is inflation? How's it measured? And then we get into the good and bad points of inflation. And so then that'll tie into tomorrow, Wednesday, the 13th, will be they announce the inflation number for June. They'll have that number, the CPI number, out. So that's kind of a way to speak in general, kind of evergreen content, and then tie it into something that's happening. So I got 5 or 6 episodes up,
Yeah,
and
I saw him.
yeah, so I'm kind of excited about that. We'll see where that goes, but that's probably my new big initiative over the last 7 days or so.
Nice. Conversely, I would say that I don't, I get the shiny new object thing from a task standpoint, but my obsessive compulsive nature doesn't let me go to the next task unless the preceding task is like perfectly, minted,
Right.
um so it's so daunting being obsessive compulsive because I mean, I do work concurrent tasks and things, but sometimes the thing that I'm working on presently seems relatively low value, but it kind of big value, big picture, but low value
Mhm.
immediate term.
Right.
Um, so
All right. You ready to get into what's happening in EVERNET?
that'll tie me in. Go.
Do it.
Yeah, so just kind of riding on that. I've been building out my marketing team, and just I was kind of leading into building out the marketing team. I was spending a lot of time on my HR software, and that was kind of holding back kind of the floodgates of soliciting new resources. And I got that done. Then I turned the floodgates on to soliciting new resources, and then I spent kind of that's another thing I spent all weekend. So I put out a couple job listings for. I'm looking for another kind of digital marketing associate, web manager, web talent, and I'm bringing on a researcher and copywriter. And actually, we're probably going to bring in 2 of those. And it's interesting because I've had in the past, when I solicited the digital marketing associate and the or the WordPress kind of web manager, like I would get a flood of applicants. Right now, that role is just trickling in applicants.
Huh.
So it's really interesting to wonder what's kind of happening in the job market. The researcher job listing is now just it was like getting an applicant a minute at one point. It was crazy until I was like 150 approaching 200 applicants, and I turned the job listing off. I didn't want to set any false expectations or anything. And so me and my wife were like kind of pouring over. I set up the job description and posting for that position in a way that I asked for. I said, yeah, submit your resume, but here are 5 opportunities for you to provide a writing sample. And what better way to vet a writer resource than to ask for a writing sample? And I'm really sensitive to everybody's time, because I know that applying to jobs, you can apply to 100 and maybe get a couple of responses or something. So I was really gracious and grateful I responded to as many as I could and things. But it's really interesting because you can really kind of weed through the non-qualified applicants really fast, and you can get to kind of the cream of the crop. The cream rises pretty fast. And so we had a number of great applicants and submissions. And so, yeah, I was just dealing with that this week, last week, and this weekend, I guess. And what else? Oh,
were you happy with the responses that you got? You got enough quality on that?
For the researcher and copywriter, yes. I do need to bring on another web manager resource, so I'm a little worried about that. We have a couple web managers now, but we have so much web work to do that we really do need to bring in the resources. The concern is that it feels like everybody starting their own agency at home, and my experience with that is in digital marketing and web marketing and stuff. You get these individual resources who want to start their own business, and they start taking on a book of clients, and then they quickly get spread too thin. So, if I were to subcontract some individual who's running his or her own agency from home, in my experience with these people, they don't communicate well. They're slow to respond. Their work product, it takes way too many iterations to get the details in and that sort of thing. So I'm looking for almost like an exclusive contractor, you know what I mean? Somebody who doesn't want to run an agency necessarily, but maybe is working a couple side gigs or side hustles or whatever, but can give us some quasi exclusivity or something, you know what I mean? So it's interesting, but the good news is it's work from home style work. So like the resource pool is kind of everywhere, you know what I mean? So just kind of working on that. Haven't been producing any content, unfortunately, because as I said earlier, I'm kind of like a combination of business administration tasks and kind of these HR things and things. And it's really frustrating because I have a library of content that I want to produce. And even this morning, like I had some business administration I had to do with one of our new resources and some other things. And like literally, I on one of my screens here, I have a PowerPoint presentation that I started drafting some notes for a video that I want to produce. And then and then we had the show in 20 minutes to record. So it's like it's hard to squeeze it all in. So
yeah,
that's what's going on with me and EVERNET, I guess.
Yeah, so the web work you have, is that existing clients upgrading what they have, starting fresh, or just maybe adding to their site a little bit?
So the good news, bad news, the good news and bad news. The good news is our clients rarely, if ever, want what we call a proper and comprehensive digital marketing effort. Most of our clients, just want the, obligatory web assets, a website, social accounts, that sort of thing. And they don't want to spend time in a dynamic and growing digital marketing effort. They just want the static assets like a website and things like that with some tweaks here and there. So we advise them like on how to do a more comprehensive digital marketing effort, but they always resist, and I get it, because I did it too for many years, where you're spending so much time running the business you already have, and you're getting some kind of naturally organic growth coming into the door that you couldn't imagine, allocating this much resources on your digital marketing, your sales and marketing. You know what I mean? So we benefit because it's not a heavy lift to manage the digital marketing needs for our IT clients. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a catch-22, I guess. Or, we can do more for them, but
Yeah, and maybe that's something where, as they start to see your content and the stuff that you're doing, they're like, "Hey, why don't you do that for us?"
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea.
Mhm.
Another interesting thing is I found a few weeks ago, when you started soliciting all those book writers, all the
Yeah.
authors. I just solicited a couple. There weren't a lot of books that I felt were really powerful or valuable to our viewership. But there was one guy, and I reached out to him on LinkedIn. I had to burn, at the time I was subscribed to LinkedIn Navigator, Sales Navigator.
Yeah.
So that lets you send email to people you don't have a contact, an engagement with. So I used a
Mhm.
credit to reach out to one of them, and he just responded to me a couple of days ago. So
Hey, that's pretty cool.
yeah, maybe I'll have an author on EVERNET reviews for the first time.
Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah.
It's a
So
challenge.
we didn't do this at the onset, but I just want to do some housekeeping here. So for the viewers and listeners, we're Finance and Technology Insights with Brian and Eric. We have a Facebook page, a YouTube channel, a podcast, and what am I missing? If you haven't already liked and
Yeah,
subscribed and shared this, please do so. But we
yeah.
are, if you Google Finance and Technology Insights, I think we're ranking in at
All right, we're getting there.
finance
Yeah, and we're
and
gonna do maybe a web page, website, and a email list at some point, which would be nice.
yeah, we're ranked. Our YouTube is at the top. Our Anchor FM is at second. Yes, the website is coming, and that's been on the list. Um, I
Yeah,
wonder if we rank just by finance and technology insights.
yeah. So Apple Podcast comes up on there.
Yeah, we're
Uh,
third on that. So that's pretty interesting.
yeah, it is good. Yeah, and that's without any, without any
Zero.
website or written content or anything like that. So,
That's without a website,
mhm.
which is forthcoming. That is on my list of things to do. So a little housekeeping there. You want to talk about the news?
Yeah, sure. What's going on now? Is there any? What's the list? No,
I did not mean to cut you off.
no,
Sorry.
no. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, they've got some fun news items and stuff. So you posted something, I think it was this morning, and it's funny because it ties into something I was thinking a lot about yesterday and some of the content that's out there, but it's about the subscription service. BMW makes heated seats $18
Yeah.
subscription. So
So this one of my podcasters. So you're talking about this article I posted to our Facebook page by thedrive.com. BMW makes heated seats an $18 a month subscription service again. So yeah, what do you think of that?
so I big picture, I was thinking about this. I listened to a couple pieces of content from different providers, and there were two companies. One was a car company. It was GM, and the other was John Deere, and they were both. You'd think Historically, you'd think they would be talking about their products, their hardware, so to speak. And both content pieces definitely went in the direction of software and subscription services. And, the case was basically we're putting out this piece of hardware, simplifying it, keeping it as basic as possible, getting people to buy it. And then we're going to push out software and updates and subscriptions. And I wonder, you know, long term, if that's healthy for people, if they become a little bit, uh, so dependent on this stuff. I mean, we're already kind of at that point with our phones, right? I mean, they can put out updates and brick items, so to speak, and basically make them useless. And you get to that point with your connected refrigerator and your, who knows, your microwave and your furnace and air conditioner. It does concern me a little bit that we could, you don't want to say slaves, that's not the appropriate word, but in essence, you're working all day and you really have no ownership of your physical goods because somebody can push out an update and make it worthless, which is a little bit scary. But I'm probably taking that in a darker, deeper direction
I got a
than
lot of feels about this, so keep
Yeah,
going.
let's do it. Let's go.
I mean, listen. So here's, I mean, oh man, there's a lot of meat on this bone.
There is, I
There's
know.
a lot of meat on this bone. Um, one of the terms and products that we sell and support in our business and our industry is called software as a service, and that's
Sure.
basically what this is: software as a service. When Microsoft started selling Microsoft Office as software as a service, I admit that I was resistant. 20 years or more of I'll pay my Microsoft Office tax every time I buy a new computer. You'll have a new operating system and a compatible new version of Microsoft Office. I'll do that every 5 years. That's what we advised our clients to do. That was the model I was used to. But here's the thing: software as a service is interesting because it usually comes with support. It usually comes with updates for as long as you maintain your subscription. A lot of the software, the software as a service that we sell, support, and integrate for our clients is usually a multi-user product, for a business. So the power of subscription and software as a service is you can add users as you scale up, and you can remove users as you can scale down. Now, you and I've talked. I went into a rant, I think, a few episodes ago, where there are software vendors out there that are hanging on to the traditional software sales, administration, and contracting engagement model. Basically, they're trying to get you into multi-year
Mhm.
contracts for the software as a service, and I rail against that because it's completely unnecessary and it flies in the face of the benefit of the software as a service to add users and services as you need it and want it, drop them as you don't want them and need it. You know what I mean? Can you imagine if Netflix just kept saying, it's like what the old cable company, what the cable companies were doing? They kept getting you into these contracts, the cell phone companies
Right.
getting you into these contracts. But now, can you imagine Netflix saying, like, you got to have a 3-year contract at $10 a month in order to subscribe to our product? It's unimaginable right now, right?
Mhm.
So the model exists in both spaces. So that's my response to the software as a service. Now, if the engagement with the consumer is that healthy add drop model, add and drop whenever you want, prorated. You start today, your subscription starts today. You want to use it for a month or two, drop it. That's fine. Now, as long as you bring value for that exchange, then I can see that. Now, the notion of paying $18 a month for heated seats when we all know that the hardware is sitting under our asses,
Mhm.
in concept, I find highly problematic because on the face of it, it doesn't bring any value. It doesn't really bring $18 worth of values. You know what I mean? You can probably get a third party seat cover that plugs into your cigarette lighter for
Right.
$12.99 on Amazon, and you're covered. But when you keep reading the article, it does say that there were a couple tiers: $18 a month for heated seats. You can pay $176 a year, which is probably some savings. A 3-year subscription for $283. So they give you these saving opportunities.
Mhm.
Those 3 years and 1 year things, that's the shit that I'm talking about, that I
Right.
think that is obnoxious and toxic, in my opinion.
Mhm.
However, they do have seats permanently, $406. So when I saw permanently for $406, now you can view that feature like going to the dealer lot, looking at a fleet of cars and saying, this one's got heated seats, but it's
Mhm.
$406 more.
Right. And that's the way it's
So,
always been, right? I mean, you had optional packages and things you could add on, so that's very much like the
but what's
historical model.
right? And what's 406 divided by 18? That's 22 months worth of subscription
Mhm.
services. So like if you're leasing it, or if you're going to buy a
Mhm.
car and turn it around every year,
Mhm.
22 months doesn't cover 2 years. So even if, like those people who buy a car and flip it in a year, God bless you, whatever. I'm nowhere near that. I was, when I was younger, I would like a new car every 2 years, or 36 months, something like that. But at $18 a month, there's no savings. So
Mhm.
um, you're better off just buying the feature and having that stored value.
Yeah, it is it transferable? Since
Well,
they
that's the
have the
next.
ability to home office to turn it off, that's a
And
problem for me.
that's another problem as well. So if you were to buy the vehicle and pay the $406 to permanently have electric seats on the vehicle, is that somehow tied to an account that you
Mhm.
create with BMW?
Yes.
Tesla's navigating this minefield too with their autopilot software. Um, so one thing is for sure: car manufacturers are are aware of the software as a service model,
For sure.
and it is coming.
Mhm.
One thing that I've said over the years is, why the hell won't these companies either partner with leverage the Android operating system, um,
Mhm.
or build their own operating system, which I don't advise. That what they
No.
really should be doing is they should be leveraging the Android operating system with a talented pool of software developers, and build a platform just like Apple did with the iPhone, just like Google did with the Android cell phone, and make the car a platform. And
Mhm.
I've been tweeting in the Tesla group and stuff. Like, I don't understand why Elon doesn't just create the API and app platform and open up. Remember when the iPhone first came out, there was not an app store.
Right.
So but as soon as they enabled the app store and opened up the phone as an open platform, Apple's revenues exploded, because don't
Mhm.
forget, Apple takes 30% of app revenue. They've since made exceptions to certain types of apps and things, because there's been a significant pushback on
Yeah.
that monopolistic power, that or supposed monopolistic power. So, in my opinion, the car manufacturers, and if you're listening, BMW and everybody else, and I know you are, um, stop selling things like heated seats for $18 an hour, but open your car as a platform,
Mhm.
which makes value. The value is, you manufactured this thing. Think of it as a cell phone. This is the cell phone. You made the cell phone, you manufactured the cell phone, and you're curating a marketplace. And then, can you imagine what kind of value we never could have hoped for, the power and value or utility that we are getting out of our cell phones today, all enabled by the App Store.
Right.
So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, cars should definitely not be in the business of creating their own operating system, and the navigation systems are terrible compared to what's on your phone, which is too
Well,
bad because you
most of those are sourced third party too, by the way, though. I mean, a lot of that's TomTom and stuff.
Yeah, but you're still they're not current. They're the traffic is not good. I mean, we get this nice new Volvo with this gorgeous screen, and we're still going off our phone
Right. Oh,
because it's
sorry.
terrible.
Hang on, somebody's calling my VoIP line here. Let me go to voicemail. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the car
Yes,
manufacturers traditionally have been poor software companies, but that's where the pivot needs to happen. I think they need to start realizing that they are a software company, just like iPhone, or
mhm,
Apple.
right.
I think that's where the value could be expressed.
Yeah, and I think, when you went down the path of software as a service, I do think there's an important distinction when you're buying the hardware, and then you're sort of a slave to the subscription service, which is happening, here in the car. That's the stuff that sort of bugs me. I mean, something like Office, I mean, yes, obviously you have your computer, but they're not you're not buying a computer, buying your Office suite, and then them coming back 6 months later and saying, "Ah, you know what? We need you to pay $20 a month for
But you
this."
but you can see the leap that you do the same thing with your computer. You do the same thing with your cell phone. I mean, so somebody's trying to get me. You rarely buy these things, your cell phone and computer, and not enslave yourself to a supplementary subscription service.
Right. Yeah, and in essence, they really are you are subscribing to your phone, right? Because it's not gonna last more than 3 years really, because they'll brick it on you. It's not gonna work anymore. The apps won't work and that kind of stuff. So but I'm thinking more down the line of appliances, and in this situation, cars. I mean, to spend $40,000 on something and then have them come back and say, you need another $18 a month to use this feature or something. I mean,
Yeah, I mean
and then
to have to pay $2 a month to get crushed ice out of my refrigerator would be a little
it's
annoying. But
I
what if that
and it sounds crazy, but is it?
But what if
Well,
that $2 a month came with, a new water filter sent every three months, or came with support, or well, how much support do you need with a fridge? But what if it did come with support, or what if it did come with a warranty? If the value is there, is all I'm trying to say. Like I'm with you. I'm a freedom fighter. Like, this is my
mhm,
stuff. Like, give me, you can't link. And again, if it's structured in a way that's appropriate, like everybody buys a computer knowing that they need to supplement, that practically you supplement it with a subscription service, i.e. the internet, right?
mhm.
But you don't have to. You can still derive your own potential value out of the device without a subscription service, but more than likely you won't. um, Heated seats in a car, like you're buying the car. Yeah, subscription heated seats is bizarre.
Well, and then you're good. Then you end up obviously with the whole black market of, oh, I know a guy who knows a guy who can plug in a USB stick and override that, and all that kind of stuff, which is
and
not
and I
definitely
applaud
not
those
where we want
people
to
too. I
go.
mean, like, if it's the cat and mouse game, like, stick it to the man.
Yeah,
I
and it's not productive of anybody. But you bring up the refrigerator example, and it's sort of tongue in cheek. But I mean, you've got the connected refrigerators. You've got I don't know, 12-inch screen on a lot of them. What if you buy that refrigerator, and then suddenly the screen stops working, or there's certain apps, and they say, you know what, with this refrigerator with the connected screen is turning out to be too big of a hassle, so we're going to charge you for it, and it's going to be $2 a month to get basically your refrigerator to work properly. Everybody's going to do that. Everybody's going to pay the $2 a month rather than, because they bought this refrigerator with the screen that was supposed to be connected to, Netflix and their calendar and all this sort of stuff. And there's no reason that Samsung or whoever's making the refrigerator can't go back and say, you know what, we need an extra $2 of revenue a month for you for this feature, and everybody's going to do it. And
Yeah,
that's the stuff that bugs me a little bit. If you buy a piece of hardware with the expectation that it'll work without a monthly subscription, and then something pops up later, that's where I would be concerned.
there was a case, Quickset, the makers of, um, the popular door locks,
Hmm.
a few years ago, um, came out with they they were trying they're dipping their toe in the water of a quick search didn't pull it up, but they quick set started. So they had a smart lock. You'd buy the smart lock. You could have an app to control it, but then you would get like two digital smart keys, so two people, like husband wife duo can use it. But then if like you had a dog walker, or if you had a maid, or, whatever, or kids, whatever, you had to buy. It was like $1 for every additional smart key, which was just an app invite that you could then subordinate and manage. Right? Huge backlash. Huge backlash. It's hard to say what the people are fickle, right? Isn't that the Queen used to say, the people are fickle? So it's hard to say, I think it's just incumbent on the manufacturer to show value. The Netflix subscription model, for example, when I was a teenager and into my 20s, like I was collecting DVDs. I had an embarrassing amount of DVDs. I never got into VHS collection. I had a few VHSs, but never spent any real money collecting them. But, when I was a teenager, started having some money. Like I just started collecting DVDs. It was fun. It was stuff, and then, I'm a reformed hoarder. So I don't know if I ever told you that, but like when I was a kid, I had hoarding tendencies. I just collected everything. I was a collector of things,
Yeah.
And then in my early 20s, I was like, I gotta get out from underneath this stuff. Like, you move a couple times and you start, you have a box full of college textbooks that you move a few times. You're like, why am I? So when Netflix came out, I was so thrilled with the concept of subscription. Like you're telling me for, $10 a month, like I can have access to the library, the library of DVDs that I have now lug around. And I'll never go back to wanting a DVD collection ever again. And I know that there's still people who do like that. And I would say it's usually the older crowd that who remembers kind of the ownership of things, and there's a nostalgia to that, and I respect all that. But at the same time, DVDs don't matter to me. The pictures of the kids and the artwork from the kids and stuff, like, we have a couple boxes in our house that basically matter to me, and the whole place can burn down otherwise, and everything is just reproducible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and that brings it, the whole DVD thing. I think when you thought about the early Netflix model, you never thought about things disappear. You just assumed they had the library and they were going to continue to add to that content, and you'd never have to buy something again. But you get movies that are on there for a few months and then they come off. You get something like Seinfeld that's licensed to Hulu, and then it's gone, and then it's on Netflix. And so now there is a little bit of that pushback. It's like, what? I'll just buy the DVDs and I'll own Seinfeld and I'll be able to watch it, on any device. I'll keep my little.
But again, if the
DVD
subscription
player.
model allows you to add drop, right? Like if it's like, okay, Netflix didn't renew Seinfeld, and I, for whatever reason, need to put Seinfeld on every night before bed, and it needs to be a fresh episode, whatever. It's like, okay, I'll drop my Netflix sub and grab Paramount. The reality is I just subscribed to Paramount Plus, I think this last week, because I wanted whatever they had on there. But as soon as if they don't have unique content, I'll just drop the sub again. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's you may end up with the yearly contracts, or that it's priced a certain way, so they give you a huge discount if you pay for 12 months up front or something, because people do hop around. There's no reason to have an HBO subscription 12 months a year. It's like, just get it in January for 3 months when there's not much sports or not much else going around, and you can go back and binge Veep or whatever you want to do, and then kill it.
NFL's a perfect example. I subscribe to the NFL app during the season, and then I don't subscribe to it in the off season. The perfect example of that.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's kept DirecTV afloat, is that Sunday ticket, and their contract, organization. So they know that people will do exactly that. So they'll tie people up with the contract. Looks like they might be losing that, though. Looks like maybe Apple is going to be the next winner on the Sunday package. But
One day I'll rant about the NFL and how they make it difficult to consume their product. I could not imagine running a company and making it
I, I know.
that difficult for your consumer to get your product.
I know, but you look at the money they're making, and they don't. They're gonna change. They're not. The idea of people putting satellite dishes in their yard to watch, the San Diego Charge, it's ridiculous. I mean, they
Ugh.
know that they're not going
I
to
mean,
re-up with
I mean,
DirecTV.
what do they call them? Lockouts or blackouts or what is
Yes,
it?
yeah,
You know,
blackouts. I got a horrible story on that. So I'm a Brewers fan. So Milwaukee Brewers baseball. So we don't watch every game, but I feel like we watch 162 games. 150 games, we're probably catching an inning, we're catching it on the radio, we're catching bits and pieces. We're not sitting there for 9 innings. But so uh so whenever they play Yankees, Mets, or Red Sox, it's blacked out on the app, on the TV, which is crazy. So I'll have to find a local broadcast. So you miss out on your announcers and things like that. And so here's visiting my mother-in-law in Florida. They happen to be playing the Tampa Bay Rays, team nobody cares about. And so we're like, I'm going to log on to my MLB TV account, watch the Brewers. I can't watch it because I'm in Orlando. I'm hours away. The old blackout rules were originally because they wanted people to go to the games, right? How ridiculous is that? Like, we'd prefer Brian drive 3 hours to go watch the Tampa Bay Rays and the Brewers rather than watch it on his device. But nope, blocked out. They had, you got to have location services on. They see your ISP, you're blacked out. And that's just such a terrible rule. It's so stupid.
it's
And
just
it's
it's a
just horrible.
toxic it's what I use this term anti-consumer. It's
Hmm.
anti-consumer. If the
Yeah.
stadiums want to drive people into them, create more value. Like
Hmm.
the value's already there, and they just it's like debating with a supposed economist about how the economy works, and not listening to them spout some horribly socialistic concept that just really is antithetical to a healthy and free economy, right?
I
uh
know.
it's like, just create value, and you already have value in the fact that you're the stadium. People go to the stadium because they want to go to the stadium. It's like
Yeah.
movies.
Mhm.
It's like you go to a movie for the movie experience. Like, but don't like not make the movie available on streaming, because like we're not going to the theater to see your movie. Sorry, but like
Right.
get the revenue where you can get it.
Mhm.
So like a lot of these business practices, they're carryovers, and you know um whatever. So hopefully they get it. I mean, I dream about the day that you just get the NFL app. I'll pay $200 a year for it. $200 a year.
I
Just
know.
give me the game.
Or even make it team specific, like, all right, $200 to watch it. So that's what MLB does. They have one package where you can watch every game or you can buy, like, all right, I'm going to buy the Brewers. I live in Connecticut. I want to buy the Seattle Mariners or whatever. And you can just buy all that team games. It makes too much sense, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
We got a hard stop in 5 minutes, seven
Yeah,
minutes.
I know. I was going to ask you about the movie thing. What's an acceptable amount of previews when you go to the movies? First of all, I guess, do you like the previews? Will you show up on time to see them? And what is an acceptable time limit on previews?
I I refuse to be late for the previews.
Same.
So and because it's part of the experience. Because
Mhm.
usually the previews are have maybe not widely publicized yet, and we don't
Right.
watch cable TV anymore. So
Mhm.
we are actually getting some value out of the previews of
Yeah.
new movies and stuff. Um, and yeah, I don't care. 10 minutes of previews is fine.
Okay. How was the last movie you went to? Was it 10 minutes or was it a lot more of that?
I don't remember. We went to Minions. We saw the new Minions with the
Yeah.
girls, and I don't know. It didn't feel like the typical preliminary movie experience.
Okay. Yeah, maybe because it's more of a kids. I don't know. But when we saw Spider-Man in theaters, I guess shortly after New Year's, it was 22 minutes of previews. The movies didn't start. I
That
would
feels
say 15 minutes is good for me.
that feels
22 minutes, it's like, geez.
that feels a little long. Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
was a bit much.
And what really we got 4 minutes, but one thing that drives me nuts is a movie theater that's too loud. Like we went to see a movie when we were in Florida
Mhm.
with my sister, and like literally, like I'm the old man who's like, I'm like, get off my lawn, you just
Yeah.
slow down and all that sort of thing. But me and my sister looked over at me and was like, oh god, this is like, we actually bring now earmuffs for my
Oh, do
5 year
you?
old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a little sensitive to that. All
Yeah,
right. So
there's some people that really like that. They wanna feel it, right? They wanna feel that plane that goes overhead in Top Gun.
ugh,
They wanna feel it, so
not with my eardrums.
yeah, well, now they
Um,
got the speakers in the seats, right? So they're right there.
you're killing me. I don't want to
I
run over
know.
this cliff. All right, you're
Alright.
watching Finance and Technology Insights with Brian and Eric. We've got a Facebook group and page. We've got a YouTube channel. Um, I am Eric Buhrendorf, CEO of EVERNET Consulting. We are the world's best IT service provider, and I'm joined every week on Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. by my partner Brian Williams, Northshire Consulting. Tell us where we can
Yeah,
find you, Brian.
Connecticut-based investment advisory firm working with small businesses and families. We are our online persona and our new podcast is 401k and beyond. So you can see that on LinkedIn, our YouTube channel. We just passed 1,300 subscribers on YouTube and 2,000 group members. There's our northshireconsulting.com. We are going to do a 401k and beyond website at some point. I do have to get going on that. But yeah, that's where you can find us. And then you can find us here every Tuesday.
Awesome. I love doing this, man. Have a great week.
Yeah, like quick. All right, see ya.